within 30 feet of. So I'm saying. We have to look at my spacing.
Teresa Cole.
Oh,
David Cooper.
Present.
Christopher Sloan. Robert Wayne.
Here.
John Battis.
Here.
Blaze Laratonda. Virginia Gates.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the December 6th meeting of the Mount Lebanon Traffic Board. The Traffic Board is an advisory board to the Mount Lebanon Commission. The duties of the board are as follows: make recommendations to the commission to improve traffic conditions, receives and investigates citizens' requests pertaining to traffic and parking, recommends to the commission and manager the means to improve the administration and enforcement of traffic laws, reviews traffic regulations and controls, works with the traffic consultant in the preparation of traffic studies. To assist the board with our recommendations are the municipal traffic engineer, Mike Haberman of Gateway Engineers, and Lieutenant Scott Green, Mount Lebanon Police Department Traffic Services Unit. The traffic board may only recommend action to the Mount Lebanon Commission and municipal manager. The board does not have the ability to approve requests related to traffic. Residents who wish to have a discussion item placed on the agenda for consideration by the board should submit the request in writing at least 1 week prior to the meeting to Lieutenant Scott Green with a brief description of the issue or request, and should attend the meeting that the issue will be discussed. Citizen comments will be taken following the introduction of each agenda item. If you wish to speak on a particular item, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. You will be provided 5 minutes to provide your comments. If a group of residents wish to speak on one particular agenda item, you may appoint a spokesperson if you so choose. If your comment or concern has been addressed by another speaker, you may simply come to the microphone, state your name and address, and indicate you are in agreement with that resident's comments. Each resident should be provided 1 opportunity to provide comment on each issue. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please click the raise hand button. You will be given 5 minutes to provide your comments. All comments or questions should be directed to the chairperson. The chairperson will request the traffic engineer or Lieutenant Green to provide a response when appropriate. Recommendation for agenda items appearing under new business will be limited to further investigation and/or data collection and placement on a future agenda once the requested information or data collection is complete. The municipality has adopted a traffic calming policy. This policy and a related frequently asked questions companion document are available online at www.mountlebanon.org. Okay, can we review the minutes from the November 8th meeting? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
To approve.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Okay, minutes are approved. Old business, speed humps, painting crosswalk on lower portion up by Old Hickory, flashing crosswalk lights, narrow travel lanes, and removing double yellow lines on Scrubgrass. This was originally brought by Stephen Antonelli of 780 Scrubgrass. Can we get an update?
Of course, so just an update on this. As you know, the screening data was collected. The neighborhood satisfied the thresholds for the policy. The manager and the commission decided to allow it to move forward to the next step. We were planning on scheduling the neighborhood meeting for sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but Commissioner Rainey is the commissioner of that ward. And she, did not run for office again, so she'll be done at the end of December. The new commissioner will take office in January, so we thought it prudent to postpone this until January so that the new commissioner is involved from the beginning.
Very good. Is there anybody here to speak on that item? Okay. Any comments? We good? Sightlines and speed for Orchard Drive. Nicole Parker, 365 Orchard Drive brought this item. What is the
Again,
update?
just another quick update. Recommendation was made for this, I think, last month.
Correct.
For some additional signage and to reinstall the transverse pavement markings. So we're coordinating that with Public Works. The signs should go up in the next few weeks, and then the markings will go down in the spring when the weather becomes positive. So this will drop off, but I'll provide updates once it's done.
There was, I thought PennDOT was gonna be looking at.
Correct.
Okay.
That's on their timeline. So they said 8 to 12 weeks.
Right, so nothing has happened.
Yeah, so when we do get that, it'll show back up on the agenda.
Very good. Okay. Sunset and Jonquil stop signs, Mrs. Rosenthal. Let, the traffic engineer provide his update, and then you'll be free to come up and,
So the results were presented last week from our evaluations for crash data and site distance data. And there was nothing in there that met any thresholds for additional stop signs or any other changes. My understanding is that the conversations then revolved around, well, is it possible to mark crosswalks? Just something more visible, knowing there are students walking and crossing that intersection. So in your report, I don't know if you can share my screen, I included in the appendix. This is the crosswalk policy that we developed a few years ago, where we established those criteria for when painting crosswalks can be done. Again, as I've said in the past, every intersection in the Commonwealth has crosswalks. They're either marked or unmarked. So obviously, when you get back into residential neighborhoods, you don't want to mark every crosswalk because then it becomes a maintenance and public works issue. So we established this policy to kind of determine where we could put those in if a request came in. So in this particular case, it's an unsignalized intersection. And really the only criteria is we can put painted crosswalks in if sidewalks and ADA ramps are present where you're making the crossing. That's really the only criteria. And then it's ultimately a decision on whether this board thinks it makes sense and wants to recommend it. And then obviously Public Works and the manager would have to approve that. So we could paint crosswalks on the two uncontrolled approaches, if you will, the Sunset approaches.
where there's no stop sign.
Correct. The two approaches that don't have stop signs.
Right.
You could paint them there. You could recommend painting them on all four, but if you're crossing the minor streets, it's a little bit less necessary because they do have the stop signs. And then the policy also states that if this board wants to recommend painting those crosswalks, that we also install a pedestrian crossing sign on each of those approaches with the little downward arrow. So it's at your
So
discretion.
they do have the
Correct.
sidewalks are ADA.
Per the policy, yeah, there's sidewalks on both sides of the road, both approaches, and there are ramps on all four corners. So they could be painted without any other physical improvements.
Would you like to come up and speak? Well, that's purely up to you. Well, please come up, state your name and address so that we get this officially on the record. Thank you.
Megan Ziskin, 290 Jonquil Place. Yeah, it's just a safety hazard. I have young children and people speed in that intersection all the time. And it would be unfortunate if, any children were hit because there's no signage or stop sign. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Discussion, comments?
Do we have any idea how commonly such similar intersections are painted in Mount Lebanon?
If we were to paint the two uncontrolled premises, that sign, there's quite a few.
I think given its location close to the elementary school there, particularly the downhill approach coming down Sunset, can give rise to some high rates of speed. I would be in favor of painting and signalizing. So I would make that a motion to.
Make
paint-
a motion.
Make a motion to paint and signalize, the unsignalized, signage for the pedestrians.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion passes. We made the recommendation. Okay, last old business is Coolidge at Bower Hill sightline issues.
I won't spend any time on this. This is gonna come off the agenda.
Very good.
Can I ask one question about that? Is there a way that we can get follow-up on the resolution of that, or is it? Okay, thank you.
Okay, new business. First one, which we touched on briefly, last time was Ross Way parking restrictions. Mr. David at 119 Rockhaven Lane raised it. Is somebody here like to speak on this issue?
Joseph David, 119 Rockhaven Lane. Alan David, Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine Center. We spoke last time about the restrictions that were put on my property line, but let me go back in history. And when I bought this property, and I bought it with the confirmation from Joe Berkeley, who was the inspector at the time, that I was permitted to park along Ross Way, that I could use that as parking for my employees. So we've parked there now for 3 decades without issue, no problems, no people telling me, hey, you're bothering us or things of that nature. There was a situation, well, I go through the history from before, same way as before, or?
If you like, sure.
That's up. There was a book party at my neighbor's house, and one of her people parked out in front of the Tampa house that's up there, and this Tampa house, you know, is here. I have to keep in mind, this is where my business is. The party was right here. The book party, is it a party? I'm finding out it's a party, but the Tampa house is right here. So someone parked there, and obviously these people here weren't keen on their doing that, and put a note on the car. I think that person returned a note back, and they thought they came down to our property, right, Jeremy? And when they came and said it was you, they thought it was us who was parking there, and it turned out it was. We said it had nothing to do with us. Well, since that occurred, the lady phoned, I guess, talked to the police, and next thing you know, they're telling us down here, away from where the party was, that we can't park along Ross Way. Pardon me? Oh, but only signs went up in front of my property. Okay, so there are no signs, there are no new parking signs. We now have 4 here, we parked along this side. We parked this way, they put 3 more, there are 7 signs from here down. And all along Ross Way, you'll find no other parking signs except the very beginning. There's one that says no parking both sides, it's on the right hand side. It's about 15 yards once you enter Ross Way from Sunset. So there's no other property. And I leave there every day and go down Ross Way. There are 6, 7 cars parked along Ross Way almost on a daily basis. So for us, for me, and I know other people are going to speak, but it was like, why are you targeting my business? Why are you targeting me? And so I want to know, like, when you said you put them up, well, I want to know who put them up, but who gave the order to say, put these things up? I guess that's what we're trying to find out, is what happened, and why wouldn't you maybe just take a more calmer approach and say to a lady in Tampa, hey, put a couple of signs back there, please don't park next to my garage, I want to have some space.
Just to clarify, and Do you wanna,
You want me to check?
yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
I wasn't here last month.
Right.
So my understanding is that, a complaint had come in about a vehicle, parking and making these calls, so they get out of their driveway. So, when the police looked into it, the municipality has an ordinance that was from years and years and years ago that establishes all the traffic control in the municipality. So where are stop signs, where parking is allowed, where parking is prohibited, when it's prohibited. So it's all ordinance. It's actually very old. So when we look at that ordinance, when I do this question about parking, it turns out that in the original ordinance, it's still in the ordinance today, and I have it up on the screen. Ross Way, parking prohibited at all times, both sides from Sunset and One. So it wasn't new, it was already established, there just weren't signs out there. So then they think, oh, well, Jesus, it's already in, it's a law, and municipalities, no parking, we better get some signs out. So then the signs went up, and then that's where we're at today, so,
Well,
I mean.
why were 7 signs put up in front of my property line?
The maintenance, my understanding is basically the maintenance department is the one who decided to actually post the signs because the ordinance says it's no parking. And they're the ones who determined where those signs go. Just so you understand, I understand your concern there, but it wasn't a targeting. I mean, I don't know if
Well,
the maintenance department spoke to anybody about where the signs are. So there's one issue about where the signs are, but obviously there's a bigger issue as to whether or not it's necessary to keep Ross Way no parking in accordance with the ordinance. You know, okay, so,
Are you beeping me?
well, it's, no,
I thought it was gonna blow up.
it's automatic on
Okay.
5 minutes, so,
But I guess what I say, and then someone else can speak, is I just can't believe in a situation like this, when you're a taxpayer for these amount of years, that you can say, well, let's dig up, there's an ordinance from 50 years ago, and now we're gonna enforce it. It's similar to me, someone is saying, hey, listen, you have a business there, but guess what? We looked back and said, you weren't zoned commercial. You're zoned for a family dwelling, so get out. I mean, at some point in time, common sense and precedent has to be applied, I think. And that's what we're looking for, to remove those signs. And then hopefully that other people than Ross Way speak. So I know I got beep, so I appreciate it. Thanks. Mhm. You want
is anybody else here? Okay, there are a lot of you here to speak on the Ross Way issue. Are all of you in favor of removing the signs?
Yes.
Okay, rather than be here for an extremely, can you all just one at a time come up, give your name and your street address, where you live, and state, I agree, these signs should be removed. We understand the issue and we understand why you want the signs removed, so we'll get you on the record as being in support of that. Does that work for everybody? I mean, if somebody has something more they want to say, absolutely, please come up.
Hi, I'm Jane Davis. I live at 423 Castle Shannon Boulevard. It was my book club where the guest parked in front of the garage one day that the woman complained about. I didn't see that car because it was beyond the overgrown lot next to me, but I had 5 witnesses who said that woman had room to get out of her garage. I've lived in my house for 37 years. Almost every day, everybody's been parked all along Ross Way. I've never had anybody hear complaints about it at all. I have a driveway. I don't have to park there, but if I have company, they'd have to park about 2 blocks away now, okay? So after that complaint came in, I talked to Lieutenant Green, who said that the ordinance from 1970 said that there was no parking on Ross Way. That same ordinance says that there is parking on Castle Shannon Boulevard in our block. So I believe that at some time between 1970 and today, there was a change to that, because we didn't have that 3rd lane of driving at that time. So when they restricted the parking in Ross Way, we could have parked in the front street, and now we can't. So that's really, it's because of that, to have to park a block or 2 blocks away is really a burden for most people, I think, on the Castle Shannon Boulevard side of the alley. There were some comments about it's hard to get a fire truck or an ambulance up there. I have had a fire, the fire truck got up okay. The woman who complained about the parking had a fire. She didn't live there, but there was a fire in her garage. Back in 1989, we had about 10 fires in the alley. The fire truck got up there all the time. We've had ambulances. My next door neighbors routinely have ambulances. They get up okay. We do sometimes have trouble with the snowplow getting up, but that's because people park overnight in spite of there being a no overnight parking ordinance. So I think really if there's any problem, it might be the overnight parking that we have. But as I say, I've been there 37 years. I haven't heard of anybody else having a complaint about the parking. I have the page. Do you want the page that says Castle Shannon Boulevard?
That's
Has
perfectly
parking.
okay. I don't.
Okay, it's page. It's code, in the code, chapter 10, appendix 1. Page 7 and 8 say no parking on Ross Way, but page 34 says you can park on Castle Shannon. It's in the, it's in the code. It's the same code. It says, but if you go, if you go to, or page 34 is Ross Way, 7 and 8 is Castle Shannon Boulevard. If I'm reading it right, because Castle Shannon has, you can park here, you can't park there. But it looks to me like you could have parked in Castle Shannon Boulevard. And I don't think there were three traffic lanes at that time that this ordinance went in. I think there was a parking lane on Castle Shannon Boulevard. The same.
Periodically, last updated in July of 2022, so it may be.
Okay, so I didn't find anything in between there and then, but the same ordinance that you're saying has no parking on Ross says there is parking on Castle Shannon.
Next person?
Hi, Terry Bradley, 411 Castle Shannon Boulevard. I live 2 houses up from Jane. The problem on Ross, and I don't mean to say anything about David's Therapy, but they have been parking up further. Like maybe 2 or 3 cars, you know, there used to be, but now there's 4, 5, 6 cars coming up Ross Way on our side. So when you're going up Ross, it's the left side of Ross. Now I have the tower in my yard, yay. So I have a little bit of more parking than other people because that's a right of way. But I also own all that space. So my neighbor to the left, who's not here, I allow them to park 2 cars in my area because they don't have any space. The problem with Ross Way, and if you have ever gone down or up down Ross Way, it's not very wide. Yeah, we don't have a lot of space. And my only complaint is in the winter. You know, we love the plows and the salt trucks, but when the plows come and plow us in, we have to dig out. And there's a lot of older residents on Ross. And I would just ask that they please not do that. It's very difficult to dig out, especially when I'm still working and I have to go to town. So, but you know, I know that a few times they have blocked Jane's driveway and she can't get in or out. And it's become a problem recently. I've been there 30 years, never had a complaint, never had anybody, you know, park too many cars up Ross Way. So I'm in agreement with taking down the no parking signs because it hasn't been a problem for all these years, and then all of a sudden it has become a problem. So Thank you.
Next person.
Evening. My name's Jeff Smith. I'm at 333 Castle Shannon Boulevard. I'm actually on the other end of Ross, on the corner of Ross Sunset and Castle Shannon Boulevard. I'm the one who has a sign stuck in my bushes on the other side, which I'm not sure how they stuck a sign in my bushes, but it's there and, you know, for most part. I'm in favor of the no parking restriction. If you look at if you look at the map, you can tell a lot of houses on Castle Shannon Boulevard, they have a single car garage adjacent to the alley, and the same thing applies on Tampa. A lot of those houses have no parking on Tampa, no ability to park on Tampa via attached driveway. So they're also forced to park on Tampa, which I'm 100% fine with. As far as, you know, other concerns about, you know, we get garbage trucks up there twice a week, not an issue. Files, you know, not an issue. And frankly, I shovel my snow at 6 a.m. because I have so many kids come down my street in front of my house. Last year I shoveled once and it was like 3 inches of snow. So you know, the plow concerns I think are unfortunately becoming more minimal. Yeah, so that's all. So I'm in favor of eliminating parking restrictions. Yeah, I
said it backwards.
Yeah, my word salad got mixed up. Yeah, I'd love to eliminate it because even my neighbors, Dave and Colleen on the other corner opposite me, they have no parking. They have to park in the alleyway. I let their guests, I have ridiculous amount of parking. I let their guests park on my property when they have functions and everything, but their daily routine, and they were tagged recently, you know, in their alleyway, and they have nowhere else to park. They can't park on Sunset and they have no off-street parking. I mean, even their garage is, single car garage is right abut against the driveway or the alleyway, so, okay. Thank you.
Name's Timothy Weiblinger. I live at 391 Castle Shannon Boulevard, and I agree with removing the parking signs and restrictions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ruth Foltz. I live at 701 Academy Place, but I own the property at 351 and 353 Anawanda, which is on the far side of Ross Way. And I agree with removing the parking signs.
Come on up, whoever wants.
Ron McElhaney. I'm at 391 Castle Shannon Boulevard. And I too am in favor of eliminating the no park or the parking signs.
Very good, thank you.
Suzanne Spilsbury, 361 Castle Shannon Boulevard, and I'm in favor of removing the restriction as well as the signs.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Spilsbury at 361 Castle Shannon Boulevard. I too am in favor of removing the signs and parking restrictions.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kenya Oscar Radoli, 401 Castle Shannon Boulevard. I want to say hi to my friends. When I injured my ankle and had ankle surgery, I had to roll down just a few blocks to Davis. So when I saw those signs, I felt that pain too. I'm in favor of removing those signs. I think we've lived in peace and harmony for so long. I feel like I'm the rookie here because I've lived in my place for 15 years. And I've got my seniors here who I love very much, who have lived longer than me. But I just want to say the reason why we moved to Mount Lebanon was because it's a beautiful community with sensible people. And I believe this, at the end of the day, it's going to win the day. I think, love the place and just making sure that we get this in the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Name is William Chebzar, 387 Castle Shannon Boulevard, and I too am in favor of removing the parking signs.
Jeremy David, 148 Rock Haven Lane. I am in favor of removing the signs.
Anybody else? Okay, essentially, because this is a new matter, we can't act on it at this meeting. The other thing you have to know is regardless of what the tradition is, the only way those signs get removed are if the commissioners vote at a meeting to remove those signs. So speak to your commissioner, right? What will happen is Gateway Engineers will conduct an investigation, which really will entail contacting the maintenance department and the fire department to make sure they don't have any objection to there being parking on the street. I realize there hasn't been an issue, but the fire department, the street's X wide and fire trucks are X big, and the fire department is gonna have their say in it, and the commissioners actually will tend to follow the fire department's recommendations on this. So depending on what information we get back at the next meeting, we will vote on an appropriate recommendation to the commissioners on this issue. Is that a fair assessment of what happens?
And then the modification or amendment to the ordinance 70 that's have to be approved
By the commissioners.
If I could just throw out there. If it comes back, obviously with the history, never been posted before, people park it, whatever. If it comes back from all the words of the fire department, my recommendation that parking being restricted on one side. Is there a preference? Like, would it be better to be on the Castle Shannon Boulevard side where you can park, or would it be better to be on the
It's always been on the Castle Shannon.
because right now, technically, it's the no parking either side.
Right.
It'll wind up being modified to no parking on the. If that is
Yeah, please come up and so we can,
Is this whole thing initiated by one parking complaint in front of a garage once?
I don't know.
yeah, but yes, and no, there was a complaint, the complaint was investigated.
Right.
It wasn't like, be clear, the person didn't know they were opening a can of worms or pushed the issue. What happened was they raised the complaint, somebody did some investigation and they find out, oh my God, we've been doing it wrong for 40 years. I mean, so I realize there's been some anger at this one person, but they had no idea what was happening. Okay, this is the law of unintended consequences that we're trying to now unwind, if possible, within the limitations of what we can do, but that's, somebody raised an issue and all of a sudden somebody looked at it and they said,
Yeah, the reaction from the Mount Lebanon seems a little, the law notwithstanding seems a little excessive on one complaint for one outlying
Okay,
event, all of a sudden restrict. Because it's not, Ross Way is not even a pass, like, it's not a cut through street like Orchard
Right.
Drive. I mean, I walk around that block 3 times a day with the 4-legged friend. I mean, if I see anyone, it's a neighbor, that's it.
the
Yeah.
real answer to that is speak to your commissioner.
Right, no,
to
I get
address
that, right. Very good, thank you.
Now let's hear, we'll follow our process as quickly as we can.
Yeah. Anybody, we don't need to do a formal motion for this. do we? Anybody else on this issue? Okay, we're gonna move on. New business, Salem Drive traffic calming. Is somebody here to speak on this issue? Please come up. Hi.
Ben Smee, I live at 460 Salem Drive. And I am in favor of, I guess, a study to consider traffic calming devices I'm just gonna read the letter that I included with the petition that we submitted. My wife and I have been residents of Salem Drive for over 6 years. We now have 5-year-old twins and a 1-year-old. I've been a lifelong resident of Mount Lebanon. Over the course of these 6 years on Salem Drive, it has quickly become apparent that speeding and the disregard of the stop sign at the intersection of Salem Drive and Chalmers Place is a major issue. Other Salem Drive residents agree. There are daily close calls at the intersection of Salem Drive and Chalmers Place due to the combination of speeding and the disregard of the stop signs at the intersection. Drivers from Chalmers Place do not have a stop sign. Aggressive acceleration from the stop signs and speeding endangers our children, pets, and families that enjoy walks in the neighborhood. Salem Drive does not have sidewalks, furthering the need for traffic calming devices. Being that Mount Lebanon is a walking school district, the lack of sidewalks along with seemingly oblivious drivers threatens the safety of the many children that use Salem Drive as their walking route to and from school. Lastly, Salem Drive is a cut-through street directly linking the larger arterial roads of Bower Hill and Cedar Boulevard. Cut-through traffic poses a significant threat as commuters during rush hours are numerous and often hurried and remiss. Let's see. It's our opinion that the installation of speed humps and or other improvement options would greatly increase the safety of the families and children that call Salem Drive home. Thank you for your time.
Have you already submitted a petition? Is it-
I did submit it to Scott.
Or did you? This recently, correct?
Yeah, probably about a month ago. Yeah, I think we have, is it 25 or 20 residents that are?
Yeah, 20, I think.
Yeah, I think we have like 26 signatures and 23 households.
Care to explain the process?
You have the policy, right? So it's
Yes.
obviously a step-by-step process, first step is petition, so.
Yep.
I don't have it yet, but
Okay.
once we get the petition, this is a new item, and then I have to discuss it with, actually, if this board has to make a decision on whether or not to recommend doing the screening down. And then I have to get that approved by the manager if this board says, go ahead and screen.
So
The petition starts the process. Sounds like we have the petition, but it is also a new item, so we're not gonna collect data.
Yeah.
The holiday time anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So this will be a follow-up item in January, and I'll have spoken to them by then. We'll have further, discussion on that.
I have 2 comments on this one, if I can. Please try and collect data during school dismissal or arrival hours. It's, yeah.
So the screening data is 7 days.
Sure. Yeah,
So
make sure it includes that, yeah. And to the resident, I would also invite you, while you're talking with your fellow neighbors, to look into the sidewalk expansion policy, if that's of interest.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, so they just updated it 2 months ago or so. It's a much lower threshold to do the investigation into adding a sidewalk. Still requires 100% of residents to sign on to have the municipality help you financially. But it is a much lower threshold to investigate,
Okay,
you know,
great.
doing the engineering
That's
study.
on mine, I guess.
Yep.
Awesome. Great. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Come on up.
Caitlin Freeze, 464 Salem. Agree with everything Ben said. It's obviously a cut through. People lie down our street and there's, people park on the street a lot. So they are like zigging and zagging between probably our own cars that are in the street during the day. What I wanted to add, if he hadn't said that, when I first moved in a few years ago, a police did sometimes sit on the bottom of Chalmers there where the stop sign isn't, I'm guessing because someone complained. So I don't know if that is part of this.
That's one of the police.
Well, no, they used to sit there. I haven't seen them in a couple years, and I'm guessing because of like, I don't know if it's an issue between, you know, that there isn't a stop sign coming down from Chalmers.
Different places with different reasons. That area, a lot of times we sit or we go there due to illegal parking, because people park there and on the street complaining about people parking there and drop their kids off the lawn of that path.
Okay.
So we're there for numerous reasons for that, and that's probably the biggest one is we're there for a lot of their parking because people on Chalmers or Salem complain that people or their drivers are getting blocked or whatever.
Okay, so I've never noticed, I know that there's the no parking sign on Ella, and like, cause the school path is right there. I've never noticed anyone parking for the school on Chalmers. I walk, you know, several times a day and I see someone blow those stop signs almost every single day. And it's people driving fast from Bower
I'm
Hill
not saying we
through.
don't also watch the stop sign there.
Right.
I said we're there for.
I was just curious if that was because of, that if that could be like added into kind of this traffic issue, because I feel like the people are blowing that stop sign coming through.
I can just put in a request for our officer to enforce that. It doesn't have to go.
Yeah, that's an enforcement issue.
Okay, I mean, maybe it's a different thing that people are blowing those stop signs versus the busyness of the street, but,
Very good.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else to speak on this issue?
As serendipity would happen. I live at 701 Academy Place, which is right at the corner of Salem and Academy. And everything they were describing is true. I walk my dog there and you'd be amazed at the number of people who pay no attention to a little old lady and her dog. They about run me down. So, yes, I think we could use some calming.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, next new business is,
Recommendation for.
it's a new item, so we can't even recommend it.
We need to recommend Coffee Data though.
No, not yet.
Okay.
And they'll have some, things will actually sort of move forward, because there'll be internal discussions with the manager to give them the heads up. So, but technically, thank you for request collecting data yet. Thornycroft at Crystal, request for no parking to be added. Is somebody here to speak on that? Please come up.
Yes, I think it is a problem. It's where Thornycroft meets Crystal. And frequently there is a car parked right around here. The children walking to school, we have no sidewalks, so they have to go around this vehicle while traffic is coming in this way. Very dangerous. Also, when we're driving out of our neighborhood, up Thornycroft to go around the vehicle, which we think that my main concern is the children walking to school. Now, my neighbor is here and he can show you where he lives. And why don't you tell them what your rebuttal to my.
Please.
Hey, good evening. My name is Raymond Burr. I live at 456 Thornycroft, which is just second house down. No, on the other side. Yeah, right there. So I've lived there, I don't know, maybe 45 years. And my dear neighbor who I've known, I don't know how long, maybe 40 years, 50 years. So I hesitate to disagree with her, but I think I'm going to. I've not seen a problem there, and I've lived there a long time, and the concern I have, it put some no parking signs up. You know, on occasion, people have parties, people have events, and they're, you know, when the kids come over, and there's cars parked there, but if put no parking up, guess what? Same people are gonna come on the street, and instead of parking there, they're gonna park up and down Thornycroft. So it's not like putting a couple signs up there is going to stop people from parking there. And right now, when there's a party or there's an event and neighbors have, you know, 10 people over, Thanksgiving dinner or something, it gets, you know, there's a lot of parking, there's no doubt, but putting more parking, no parking signs isn't going to, isn't going to change anything. It's going to make it worse. So that's my 2 cents. Okay, thank you.
Again, that would require a commissioner to act to make that no parking if it's currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are other things at play as far as talking within a certain distance, intersections. Really different intersections here, so it's limitations on that. It may be that you already can't park there even without signs based on regular traffic flows. Just look at it, see what's like.
So essentially, they'll assess the intersection and give us thoughts and ideas, recommendations at our next meeting. Any items from the floor? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody against? Thank you.
In previous month, we have been able to have this request data on